Hi, this is Katie Schell. I'm an intuitive healer and spiritual counselor. One of the modalities that I work with is astrology. And so this video is about the full moon in Cancer on December 6th at 3:07 p.m. Pacific time. Here in Arizona, that is 4:07 Pacific time. In some places in the world, it's going to be on January 7th, but everywhere in the U.S., it will be on January 6th in the late afternoon, early evening. So when we're talking about the full moon, we're talking about the energy that it is something that is coming into culmination, something that is kind of at the peak. It's at its brightest, it's most kind of full. It's at its fullness. And so we want to always look back as to when the new moon to the previous new moon, which is about 2 weeks ago, December 23rd. And then we also want to look at the new moon of that sign. So this full moon is in Cancer. So we want to look back to the new moon in Cancer back on, in this case, it was June 28th of last year. And so look at what intentions you were putting in the world, what seeds you were planting at that time, and what has grown out of it. And so we want to express gratitude for everything that has grown, all of the efforts that we've put in, and what both that kind of 2 week and that 6 week, and then that 6 month cycle, and what has been fulfilled out of that. I'm thinking about some of the intentions that I said 2 weeks ago, and those things, a lot of those things are still in motion. Now, part of that was because it was the Capricorn new moon, and Capricorn new moon is about slow and steady winds, is slow, and it's not slow like Taurus is slow, but it's about building things, about creating things. So it's about longer term goals. So anything that you said at this recent new moon, there's a good chance it hasn't quite fulfilled itself yet. You'll be looking at the full moon next June when we are in Cancer season, and we're reversed from where we are, because we're always looking at opposites. So right now, the moon, as a full moon, the sun is going to be at the opposite side, and the opposite sign, which is Capricorn. So full moon in Cancer, moon in Cancer, means the sun is in Capricorn. So that said, just going to talk a little bit about the energy of this full moon and the energy of Cancer. So Cancer, the moon rules Cancer. It is in its home sign here. So we're talking very, very emotional depth. We're talking about emotional movement. This is a cardinal sign. So it's very much, again, about movement and getting things going, getting things flowing, because we want to think water. So we're flowing things. So what we want to think about releasing, and there's a couple of other aspects. Let me talk about some of the other aspects too. So the moon itself is going to be conjunct the asteroid Pallas-Athene. And Pallas-Athene represents is the warrior goddess, artisan, the kind of the divine feminine. This theme that actually has been occurring a lot in my videos lately is this intelligence of the divine feminine. And so it's about cunning, it's about negotiations, it's about precision and nuances, and how that achieves our goals, and how that helps us get what it is we desire, how we are able to go after what we desire, speak up for what we desire, because we are creative in our thinking, because we are creative in our negotiations, because we are willing to take a stand and fight for what it is we want, but we do it in this much more precise way. It's not like this powerhouse Mars energy. It's creative, it's intelligent. It's, again, bringing in all this kind of nuanced stuff to then form our what we have decided to take a stand for. It's also about responsibility, because one of the stories, and there's a couple different versions of it, and I won't go into it, but one of the stories of why it's Pallas-Athene is because Athene killed sister, friend, depending on which version you're paying attention to, and she took on that name. So she took on that name to honor the fallen friend, sister, and to honor that. And so this is also about taking responsibility. And so it's for taking responsibility for what we do and what we have created in this world. So when we're pairing that Pallas-Athene with Cancer, in Cancer, pairing it with the moon, we're talking about emotional responsibility. We're talking about what are we willing to be responsible for? What are we willing to release? Because the full moon is about releasing. So what kind of responsibilities do we take on? What do we need to speak up for? And what are it's time to release. Now, part of this is going to be, it's going to take some, it's this also this willingness to go a little deeper. It's a willingness to let these emotions flow and let the things that need to be said, let these kind of painful feelings come to the surface so that they can be released. And then on the other side of this, then we have the sun in Capricorn. So it's always, full moon is always about balancing the moon and the sun. Sun is about ego. Sun is about energy. Sun is about shining. It's about taking the attention. It is that kind of driven, more forceful, masculine energy. It is paired. So in Capricorn, it's this, what are we, how, it's achievement oriented. It's what do we want? What are we going for? How much of our energy do we want to put in? What are we thinking about? Again, and more about this kind of theme about what are we responsible for. And so and then the sun is conjunct Mercury retrograde. So it becomes, what do we want to say? Sun Mercury is and remembering it's in retrograde. So we're reflecting, we're looking at, we're tweaking our words. And maybe we're using that Cancer moon energy to really examine our words, examine how they make us feel, examine how words make us feel, examine who we're talking to, who we are willing to open up to, who we are willing to connect with emotionally, what we want to protect, because Cancer is very protective, and again with the Pallas-Athene there, very warrior-like, so protecting emotions. So what I ask, and this is one of my favorite things to go back to, is it true? Is it good? Is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? Always, you want to really examine that before you say anything, before you share what it is. You don't want to edit yourself, but you do want to take that pause to make sure that what you are saying is true, is necessary, and is kind, and that it meets those at least two of those criteria. It might be true and necessary and not so kind. How do we make it a little bit kind? How do we maybe show our love? How do we express love through our words? Because this is also very loving. This is loving energy. Both Cancer and Capricorn are very loving energy. They just do it in very different ways. Capricorn is about structure and stability, and building things, building roads, right? We build roads to help other people. We build schools, we build structures, we build maybe even playgrounds. We build things as a show of love. Cancer, we're feeling things, we're expressing things, we're emotionally expressing things, and there's this emotional intelligence that is necessary, and that comes with that refinement that Pallas-Athene is bringing. So really looking at this energy, again, what am I responsible for, and what am I expressing? And then there's one more aspect to this kind of, so we've got Pallas-Athene and the moon on one side, and then you have Capricorn and Mercury on the other side, and then it forms this T-square with Chiron. And Chiron is about our sensitivities. It's about again, about our expression. It's about things that are hurt, things wounding, that come into play and need to be expressed and need to be acknowledged as true, as in real. So we're finding this, that T-square between these three kind of spots in the sky, in the charts. And so with that Chiron thing, it really emphasizes this. It brings into play this idea of whininess, because Chiron can sometimes feel a little whiny when it's pushing us, from other people, when other people are expressing their feelings, expressing all, kind of wallowing in self-pity, like everything is against me, everything is so terrible, blah blah blah. Like I've got that Eeyore image in my head sometimes with, and that we need to allow ourselves to express things without turning it into a pity party. And we need to, and that can happen. That could happen very easily in this. So making sure that these that you're taking that Pallas-Athene energy and you're taking that Capricorn energy and you're using it to be responsible with expressing yourself, expressing your needs, expressing your emotions, and responding to other people's emotions. And that you're also using that to then take action, which is much more about the divine masculine, than to take action in honoring those feelings and releasing the things that are no longer serving you, because that's what we kind of do after we acknowledge, we show our gratitude for all the things that we've received, good, bad, ugly. All of it teaches us lessons. All of it is received, and we show our gratitude, and then we release what is no longer necessary, or we release our expectations around what we thought this was supposed to look like. And so it's a release, and we can use that, all of that kind of, that again, that Capricorn energy of responsibility, of moving things, of building things. And you have to release things in order to make space to build things. And that Pallas-Athene energy to, and that warrior energy to figure out what it is that we really truly want and what is working for us. And so again, all of this kind of comes back down to that, taking responsibility for emotions, taking responsibility for releasing what we don't want to be responsible for, what we are not responsible for, and taking responsibility for our emotional expression, taking responsibility for our emotional needs, and I don't want to say cutting because I don't like cutting, but releasing, giving back that energy of anything that is no longer in alignment with our current place and our current position and our current needs. So thank you very much for listening to this. If you would like a reading, you can go to katieshell.com or for any other information. Thank you very much and have a great day.